Hey everyone, we have started moving into a warehouse and we are here today to answer your questions about warehousing because clearly after just a week or so, we are experts. So we are glad that you're here for our expert advice. I can't even get that out without laughing, but welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. I'm Prof Sales.
And I'm Kaaren. Just ask Kaaren.
In this channel, we talk about being a reseller. We talk about being an entrepreneur, your mindset, staying positive, selling on e-commerce platforms like eBay, Amazon, all the local app platforms, Craigslist, Letgo, all that good stuff. And lots of other things too. And we are glad you're here. There's a live show going on right now. And if you ever want to join that, you can. It's at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can join us live or, of course, leave a question or comment after the video is posted.
Take a deep breath. Whew.
I know. So speaking of all that, some of you know that we have started this process of moving our eBay business to a warehouse. And we actually talk about that. If you look in the description down below this video, there is a link to that video where we give you a tour of the warehouse and so on. And so you can kind of get an idea. And we're going to be doing more videos from the warehouse for sure. But today we're not there, mainly because it's snowing here.
I wish we could show, like, these are blinds to the backyard.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really
trust us. There's a lot of snow back there.
It's not that much snow. It's like a couple inches of snow, maybe. But
for some people, that's a lot of snow.
For this area of the country, that's panic. The bread and milk is nowhere to be found. You know,
we don't eat bread or drink milk, so that's not a problem for us.
Right. You know, so it wasn't a problem. But we will be back over there shortly. And we will be doing other videos from there live, as well as maybe some content videos and so on. But we thought we wanted to talk to you guys about this process of moving into a space, not just a warehouse. I think like even an office space, you know, any sort of space that's not your home, and some of the challenges you're going to run into. We've already run into some challenges. There's going to be some others that are coming down the road. So we thought we would spend today talking about, you know, what sort of questions were out there. I know that we have questions ourselves we still have to get answered. Maybe you guys can help with that. That'd be great. But long story short, we're in the process of moving our eBay business into a roughly 1,500 square foot warehouse space. The warehouse is somewhere around 20 minutes from us in terms of drive time. It's centrally located and close to lots of sourcing, post offices, highways, things like that. Easy to get to. It's not, you know, there's no issues with that. The warehouse, we think, has heating. We don't think it has cooling, which could be a real issue in the summer, which we're going to talk about a little bit today as well. And it's 1,500 feet of contiguous space, so it's not cut up. It's kind of shaped, kind of reminds me of a staircase. Like you come in, there's a narrow area, and then it juts out, and then it juts out again, and then it comes along the back and forms like this, you know, this big multi-sided, it looks like stairs if you looked at them from above, sort of. But what else? So we'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have best we can. There's still some things that we're in the process of doing with this warehouse. There's a lot of things actually that are in the process, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm on mommy duty. My child decided he would, because of the snow day at school today, he wanted to go to IHOP. And we're not driving on the roads because they're not exactly very safe. In the South, it could rain, you know, a little sprinkle, and it's not safe to be on the roads. So imagine if you have an inch of snow, it's just Armageddon, right? So my child decided he wanted to walk a mile in the snow to IHOP.
Both ways, uphill. See what I did there?
I guess he really wants his pancakes, his chocolate chip smiley face pancakes.
Yeah.
But he just got there. He texted me, so there you go.
Yeah, so so yeah, the warehouse is, let's see. Let's talk about the condition of the warehouse. We've talked about the size of the space and how far away it is, and the location is great. But how would you say the condition is now? And versus when we started.
Well, it was full of stuff, and now it's not as full of stuff. No, I I mean, condition-wise, I think it's in great shape. It just needs organization, and it needs a plan for what to do with the existing space, how to make more space, and then once you make more space, what are you going to do with it afterwards?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things we're having to do in this warehouse is clear it out, create space and shelving and racks and things like that will make sense for us. I'm thinking about how to best utilize the space, configure it. And that's a challenge because it's kind of hard to see that when there's a lot of stuff already there. I feel like my vision every time I walk in there is a little different. Like it keeps evolving. Like, oh, well, no, maybe this makes the most sense. And we don't have it cleared out completely to the point where we can even, bring in fixtures or bring in office equipment or bring in inventory and move stuff around. But it's kind of hard sometimes to see it until you actually see it in there. And I think we'll still make changes once we get everything in there.
Right. And it's not only our vision. I mean, there are other pieces to this puzzle, right? So we're going to sort of lay the groundwork and the skeleton of it. And then we have some things and some other things and people to fill in around that, right?
Yeah. And the good thing is too, like this particular warehouse is, I don't know if the ceiling's 18 feet or 20 feet. I'm not sure, but it's definitely tall enough to build a second level if necessary. And we may do that. So that way we would basically be doubling our space roughly. We wouldn't be able to double it all. But we could double a lot of our space and, keep it under the same roof, just expand. And that's something we may do. I don't know. We're nowhere near that. I mean, that's down the road. So let's talk. Well, a few questions have already come in, so we'll try to answer some of these. Ninja said, I get the whole hair house. Wow, that sounds.
If I'm involved, it's a hair house.
Well, it's a warehouse, not a hair house. I get the whole warehouse concept. Ninja put it right. I said it wrong. I get the whole warehouse concept. My question is, how do you plan to rack all of those bins? What does that mean?
Oh, well, maybe Clarence Ninja does it differently than we do.
Yeah, what do you mean by that, Ninja? Rack all of the bins. I'm not sure what you mean there. Let's see.
Well, because right now we have the shoes on those song mics, and those are hold about 50 pair of shoes each.
Yeah.
And so we'll need 10 of those, and then we're going to do the jeans the same way. We might pre-package the jeans. We've kind of talked about that. But with the warehouse, we've had a lot of questions come in this week about moisture. A lot of folks are worried for us for moisture. And in the experience that I've had in that space prior to this, I haven't really noticed that. So dehumidifiers could be in the plan. But as of right now, we're going to use the current inventory system that we have, which has the different racks for jeans, for shoes, and then whatever other hard goods. Because part of our process has been, and my apologies to anybody that reached out to us on Ben's mountain of sport cards that he's trying to sell. It's literally a pallet's worth, but then it's literally in trying to go through that yesterday, we got sidetracked because it's not only all of those cards, like literally like a mountain of cards, but it's also all this collectible stuff. So he had to sort of separate that out and inventory things. I'm gonna have to turn that heater off, I think. And inventorying all those things. And it's everything from, like brand new Star Wars Risk games or the Shrek Barbie. I mean, it's all kind of things that over his lifetime I purchased and put in a box and set aside for a day like this, right? So we got a little sidetracked on that kind of stuff, but we will get back to the cards and be able to give more educated responses when we're asked what he has, because he doesn't know. I mean, you've seen it, you've moved it. It's boxes and boxes of all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on how to inventory those cards versus, because it seems like a monumental task to go through thousands and thousands of cards. So I'm not really sure how we can even best put them together or kind of make a list of them in batches. I don't really know. It's not my niche. So if anybody's got any suggestions on that, we are more than open to that, because we'd like to be able to tell people, hey, here's kind of what we have, but it seems like an almost Herculean task to do that.
Right, and send us an email, because this the live chat will disappear, and sometimes we can save it and sometimes we can't. So if you'd send us an email on your suggestions or ideas, that would be grand. Ideally, he would sell it all in one fell swoop, but it would be a big old swoop at that. It is a ton of cards, and it's all going towards the car fund, right?
In his case, yeah.
Yeah.
So, because
because boys and cars.
Are you going to be putting in a lot of shelving? That is a great question, and the short answer probably is yes. Exactly what that shelving is going to look like, don't know yet. I love the idea of mobile shelving that you can move around and reconfigure. I hate the idea of attaching anything to walls, especially because it's cinder block walls. It'd be a big pain in the butt. I'm not sure we could do that, even with, because we don't own the space. So having shelves that we can move around, sure. And they won't even necessarily be super, super expensive or nice shelves. They just need to hold stuff. A shelf holds something. As long as it does that, I really don't have that many prerequisites for what it needs to look like or be like. Let's see. Number one thing, I hate playing the Lego game where I move boxes, need them all on shelves. Yeah, and that's the thing, James, because we were talking about the stuff that's in there right now. Some of the things we're having to move out of there. It's all kind of on the floor and stacked, and that is so much more difficult to get a handle on than just the simple act of putting it on a shelf and being able to see it and work with it in pieces instead of like. You can organize things. You can make this shelf, these items, or this part of the shelf. And whereas when you have things on a floor, it's really disorganized. Things get a lot dirtier on the floor. Obviously, in a warehouse they do, but even your house they do. There's a lot of dirt on your carpet or hardwood floors, or whatever you have there for sure. So if you can get things up off the floor, that's a big win.
Well, and what did we talk about the dust? Somebody asked us about that, right? It is not a very dusty place.
No, it's really not.
And that has been a pleasant surprise, because we've been moving around some things that maybe have been sitting for a while, and it's not going to be dusty. I mean, granted, once we start coming in and out of there a lot more and opening the bay doors and, people traffic creates dust, but it's a pretty clean place. Like, we don't have to worry about it.
Ninja says, I worked in a warehouse before and all the bins were slanted down to the front for easy access. Plus, you can't safely go too high from a ladder without a fall hazard. That's true. I actually worked in a lot of warehouses when I was younger. I worked for a bunch of temp agencies, and warehouses are, they were in my blood there for a long time. So yeah, I remember a lot and they were set up all a little bit differently. Some were really, really organized. Some were crazy. Looked like we glitched there for a second. But yeah, the type of shelving we use will definitely be important.
And thanks, Joe, for giving us your phone number. You could have just messaged me on Facebook, but wow. Yes, now everybody's going to call you. But I will definitely call you. You made that offer before and just didn't give us your number, but now I have no excuse. So,
yeah. So OSHA rules, yeah. OSHA has rules. That's true.
And hi, Rob. What'd you say to that?
Thanks for the super chat.
Thanks, Krillin. And hi right back to you. Hopefully you are warm and toasty on this cold, cold day.
Let's see. What else is here? Lots of good questions and comments here.
Is that Tony? Yeah, the baker's racks on wheels. How much at Costco? I haven't priced those. We actually were looking at those a while ago. I wanted those rolly baker's racks.
Yeah, baker's racks. Well, the only bad thing about them is you have to set, if you have small things, you have to set something across them to make a base because they're wire and they have spaces in between them, and it'll fall. It'll fall through. But I don't mind. No, they're great. They're just a little more expensive than plastic shelves and so on. But they're very, very sturdy. You definitely can move them. You can put them on wheels. You can change, I believe, the level of the shelving. So all those things and more. But it's kind of tricky when you start selling a lot of different things and thinking about shelving and so on. If it's got any size to it, You're like way over in the shot. If you can scoot her, just look. There you go. I was like,
you feeling a little claustrophobic right
no,
now?
she's trying to be in the center of the camera shot, which there we go.
Heaven forbid.
But I was like, man, I got no room. I'm like way over here. But yeah, Baker's racks are amazing. They're just a little bit more expensive than plastic shelves and so on. And you can get them with or without the wheels. I would love to have Baker's racks, but new ones would be really pricey to buy a bunch of them. So I don't know if we'll go that route or not. Somebody said $60 on eBay for rolling racks, which makes sense. But you know, I think that's one where we can buy like our plastic shelves for 40, even 30. I mean, that adds up. But it's definitely worth. Yeah, you can do that. It's definitely worth investigating. Sometimes it's weird. All right, let's see what other questions Costco has it for cheap. So we'll have to check that out.
What is cheap?
We don't have a Costco thing anymore, right?
No, but our warehouse is like an inch from a Costco, so
that's true.
We could spit and reach.
Yeah.
Costco.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Let's see. I'm trying to read some of these comments here. You guys have lots of great comments. We didn't really have a set agenda for this show, by the way, so whatever.
You can always tell.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, well, that was bad.
Soon we'll be tap dancing and singing a song.
Wow. That is not what will happen. They have plastic sheets that fit over the wires. Yeah, okay, so, you know, there's some solutions out there because you definitely, that's the only thing I don't like about Baker's racks. And when I worked in retail, we actually used those quite a bit in our stock room to move things around. Like we would roll those out to the floor with product and, you know, put it on the shelves and racks and so on. It was great. But, you know, they definitely are a little bit pricier. So that's the only thing I don't like about them. But.
And Aaron wants to know how we will get motivated to list in a freezing cold warehouse. How do we get motivated to list anyway? It's really not that cold. The Arctic. I
don't think the cold will be the problem.
No, and it's not going to be that hot either. But the cold, if I looked freezing with my ear thingy on, it was because we kept opening the dock because we had to move a lot of things out into the dumpster. So we made it cold. I think that it'll be pretty moderate if we're not opening that door all the time.
Yeah, the temperature, it's fun. It's interesting. I was thinking about today. So the way the warehouse is configured, it's a long, basically, you know, straight line shaped building, and it's got units on either side. And then there's units on each, it's got a unit right behind it, and it's got units on either side of it. So the only thing that opens up to the elements is, of course, the roof, which is high, but also the dock door. But it's got units on three sides of it. So that helps keep the temperature from getting too crazy. If it was like an in unit, you've always got the wind sort of whipping around it, it would definitely be colder, I would think. But because it's in the middle of all the other units, I think the temperature in there will not be as big a deal. Especially, and we can use space heaters. It's not like, and it's not like you're going to be walking all around the warehouse all the time, even into the areas that are not as heated as much. You're going to be in certain areas a lot more than others, I think, right? Taking photos, doing listings, and we can walk out into the office area and do listings if need be. But I think our plan is we're going to have plenty of space to do them there in the warehouse.
Yes, there are ceiling fans, Wes. Previous video. We can do that one. We didn't decide to get a partner. It just sort of presented itself, and that's still in the works, right?
Right. So, I mean, one of the things we've learned about a partnership, guys, is that you have to make sure it makes sense for everybody involved, and you have to figure out sort of what your common goals are and how you can achieve them together, what you can all sort of bring to the table and what that looks like. And that is not easy for sure to figure out. So we are still working through some of those things. And that's going to be a little bit of a process to go through. And that's why we've been kind of, we haven't really talked too much about the who and the what and the how, just because we're still working through all that, honestly. And I don't want to, like, you know, preface all that and then something happens and it falls through. And, you know, I mean, we'll tell you, but we're still trying to kind of figure out what it looks like.
Yeah, and somebody actually said it when we first started talking about it. I mean, it's like we're little kids, right? With a new present, we want to just, you know, take it out and use it and just but we can't. Like, the first step was deciding that we wanted to do it. And then we're very much instant gratification kind of people. So in making that decision, then it's like, okay, everything should fall into place. Well, that's just not how it works. I mean, there's legal things that you have to do. You have to, somebody asked about, will we have an LLC? Yeah, there's all sort of important official stuff you got to do too.
Right,
so
insurance.
It's yes, and it's not enough to just say you want to do it. Now we're going back and putting things into place, and arguably some of the things we should have done before, but it just sort of presented itself in a way that we're like, okay, we can do this. We want to do this. Now, what does it need to look like to make it successful? And whenever you bring in any more than one different idea, you've got 2, 3 sources here coming at it from different angles, right? So we've got to figure out the best way to mold those together, because it won't just be us in the mix.
Right. Lots of great questions coming in here. Can you all find the links to all the shelving units you buy and put them on the Facebook page? Yeah, we'll see what we can find. I think we buy the black ones. The Song Mix shoe racks are in the description below. Affiliate link, warning. But the black shelves that we use for the Black Hawk or Blue Hawk ones, those are usually at Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't think we have
whoever has a better deal.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes they go back and forth between who has a better price. And we usually I try to pay no more than $30 for a rack, a shelving unit. Sometimes it's $40. Let's see. Are there ceiling fans to blow the hot air down? Yes, but I'm not sure they all work.
And you got to get up on a ladder to turn them on.
Yeah, they're like 20 feet off the ground. So
is it 20 or is it 18?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's high. It's definitely 2 stories. Rolling racks, $50 on eBay, free shipping. That's pretty good. That's a good price. That would be worth it to me because they are sturdy. Shop fans that you can hook a hose up to, so nice in the summer. Yeah, that's we will definitely do that. We'll just have to see how it goes in the summer. I mean, you can't plan everything, guys. You can't move into a space and be ready for all the elements. And, it might be hot, it might be cold, it might be humid, it might be dry, it might be dusty. There's all these things you're going to have to deal with when you decide to go into a space.
Right. And Ed, first, bonus points for pointing out that we are on opposite sides today. Although I think I look like I'm on the same side. Why is it doing that? Like, I'm usually on the right, but I'm really on the left. Anyway. But Ed, yes. So there's a first and a potentially last time for everything. I don't know if we'll ever do another assembly video. Just saying.
That was funny. I don't know why. Let's see. Tennessee Picker had an interesting comment. It said, with the warehouse being long, you can manage your flow by having each area next to one another. For example, having a new product on a rolling cart, going from processing, photo, listing. Yeah, and we might. I don't know. Like, I think it's going to slow down a lot there at the photo and processing, so it might have to sit in between stations. And that's possible. We'll do it that way. But I'm not really too super worried about that. There's enough space in there the way it's set up. I would rather have a big open space and reconfigure it than have a bunch of cut up spaces and try to make it work. And fortunately, that's what we have. So if it was cut up in 5 or different sections, then we'd have to think about, well, this has to go here. Like in a house, for instance. A house is cut up. You're in different rooms, a garage, whatever, spare bedroom, and then you're having to walk between. You're having to store some things here, some things there, set up this over there. I love having an open space where you can just make it your own, whatever flow you want.
Yeah, and as of right now, the areas that we sort of envision, and it might even change, but the areas like we envision, like this area over here in the middle, what do you call that? The middle cube, the mid cube, where that'll be the photo area. And then over here will be the processing and shipping area. And then along the wall, we do like the idea of putting everything along that wall, like in an L along the outside. That makes sense for flow.
Yeah. Sell Online Advisor says we use Home Depot or Lowe's 17-gallon black and yellow bins, sold at 6 high, solid at 6 high, no shelving required. Yeah, but the problem with that is efficiency, and you have to move all of them to get the bottom one, right? I mean, that's the only reason I wouldn't want to go to that plan. So if you need the container that's on the bottom, you got to move the other 5, which to me is not as efficient. It's also potential for dropping them, somebody dropping them and breaking something, somebody dropping them on their foot.
Or hurting themselves, yeah.
Right, anything. So that's the only reason we don't want to go with that particular setup. I just think shelves make a lot more sense. You're able to go in and get things with. I don't like the the model where, excuse me. I don't like the model where you have to move one thing to get another thing. I did that before. I did that with jeans. I had one stack in behind the other one. It was a debacle. You always, and anytime you had to get a jean from the other one, you had to move this one, pull that jean out, get it situated back, and then push the other stack back in. I just don't like that system. I mean, I even hate having them stacked, honestly, because you got to lift some up to get another one. I mean, they get disorganized. You got to I mean, every little second counts. Every little bit of organization helps. But I'm anal about that stuff, so whatever.
Yeah, and we've got it to where it works. Somebody who said something about arthritis, stacking is hard on the arthritis. Yeah, that too, Wes.
I think you should do a warehouse setup video, a month-long time lapse. Played at super speed to silly circus music.
Actually, we intended to do a progress video like that, and be able to time lapse it, but we forgot. Instead of worrying about the video, we just got to work, which we've done a lot of. We need to get better about that, because we show up there and then we just get to work on it. We just, like, the video part becomes secondary. Sorry, we're trying to take pictures as we go.
Yeah, we've taken a lot of pictures, and we actually took some photos of some things to list the other day in local sales. So actually we need to follow up with those today.
Yeah.
And we kind of came up, the strategy is starting to sort of take place when every time we walk in there, we see like, oh, we want to do this, to set this here. We came up with, like, putting the items in the middle tables, which we didn't talk about the time before that. So we were on that plan. Question, without giving out numbers, what percentage increase you expect in profit, even if your new expenses? Well, quite a bit as we scale up. Our expenses are going to be super, super low.
Yeah, because part of our, we've kind of hinted at, this partnership idea. It's manyfold. And I look at our space arrangement that everybody's curious about as one of our pending partnerships, right? And part of that arrangement, part of it's Nunya, but part of it is
wow.
Well, I mean,
yeah. No, that's just funny.
But part of it is helping the warehouse owner organize, manage, sell, maintain their existing inventory is part of our rental agreement. So when we say to you that we're getting a good deal on our space, we are, but we're also swapping that good deal for helping another reseller. Right,
and we have to put in sweat equity.
Lots of sweat equity.
Organization, I mean, but that's, I started thinking about, it's like any warehouse or any space you get, office space, is not going to be, it's not going to be perfect from day one. There's going to be things that you're, like, an outlet's not going to work, or the HVAC's going to be on the fritz, or it's going to be really dirty over here, or there's going to be stuff to handle over there. I mean, whatever it is, like, there's no such thing as a perfect space to move into. I mean, unless it was, like, brand new, it had been totally vetted, there was nothing in it, everything worked perfectly. And if you do that, if it is brand new, it's going to be expensive. So I think we kind of are navigating, this walk between the best of both worlds.
Right. And we have, we have a vision for greatness. I don't know how a better way to say it. And we've gotten a lot of questions about, well, why are you doing it? Well, because our house limits us, and we're already paying rent on a house. So it didn't make sense to us to go out and get a storage unit,
right?
And so this space that we've been, hinting at, working on for quite some time now, we just finally said, let's just do this.
Right.
And it's going to allow us all to expand onward and upward in some pretty cool ways. And the only reason we haven't, I think one of the reasons, like you pulled back on the jeans challenge was that we don't have the place to put it here.
No.
And then it becomes, okay, so are we going to pay another $400 a month to store it somewhere else? And then are we going to be doing business here? We really wanted one big space to do it all.
Right.
Instead of, doing part of our work here and then having to go to storage unit and then going to the post office. And we actually see a lot of value in leaving the house to go to work. I mean, we're still self-employed. We're still doing our own thing. Granted, we won't be able to do it in our pajamas and slippers.
Well, we could. It'd just be a little weird.
Well, I do go to the grocery store in my Star Wars jammy pants every now and then. Whatever.
True story.
But there's some accountability for ourselves in that. Like, it's really easy, especially with us being sick for a while. It's really easy to wake up when you're a home-based business and just fall into not the best habits again. Like, it's been a bit of a grind. I mean, we were sick. Like, this whole house arguably had the flu or something terrible for a month.
Still feel like I have it.
And it's still not all gone, right? So I think just having an outside space where we can do all of the things in one location is going to be, priceless, because we can do it all right there.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, it even drives me crazy to have to walk between literally 4 rooms in this house to do this business. Mm. There's a front room in there, there's this room, there's the garage, and then there's a spare bedroom with inventory. Mm. And that doesn't sound that bad, but it drives you kind of nuts after a while, because plus, your house, you're always trying to keep stuff in your house from encroaching on your business, and stuff in your business from encroaching on your house. It's tough. It definitely, like, if you get to any size with your inventory, it gets very tricky to do that. Like, if you were carrying, 1,000 pair of earrings and that was your inventory, no problem. Like, you could create a small space for the photos that they would store in, a very small space. But if you're carrying clothing and stuff on racks and bins and totes and shelves, I mean, you need space. I mean, there's just no way around it. So it was actually, we could argue that we are in a bigger home than we need to be because of the space we need for this business. So we could actually downsize our home, which would be cheaper. And, that's money right back in our pocket.
Well, that's why we picked this place, because we anticipated all that. And now we're not going to need it. Yeah, agreed. That's going to be I can't wait.
Sadie says we should have bought a mansion and kept our inventory in the maid's quarters to save money.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, seems right. Seems legit. Let's see. Thanks for reminding us not to visit with all the sickness. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome, Ed. Mm-hmm. Hank says, I do not allow business items into any personal space and vice versa. Otherwise, the lines get blurred and frustrating. Very minimalist. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's the thing. You can end up working, like, there's a lot of us out here, I think, who work in this business kind of around the clock, but we don't work around the clock, but we're in the business around the clock. You're like, oh, I need to go do this, or I'm going to go knock out these couple listings, or I'm going to pack and ship those 2 items, or what, just at random times during the day. I think one of the dangers in reselling is that you end up just your work day just becomes a whole day long, all the way from wake up to the time you go to sleep. And that's not really the best for you. I don't think it's the best for your business either. I don't think it's good for you as a person. I don't think it's good for your relationships. It's not good for any of that stuff, really. I find us fall into that trap sometimes, don't you?
Well, and we used to talk a lot about balance. And I don't know how this is going to sound or be received, but we're not in balance. We're just not.
Right.
We're doing way too much work, more than anything. It's honest.
Yeah. So one of the things about this space that's going to be great for us is that we separate our work from our home. Mm. Because while I know most of us in the reselling community have to be in our home or feel like we have to be in our home, I don't know. I mean, I wonder for some of us how much more productive we would be away from home.
Mhm.
I wonder if being at home sometimes is less productive. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, and I know everybody's different and everybody has a different mindset, but there's value to walking in a door somewhere else that's not yours and knowing that it's time to get to work.
Mhm.
Whereas you walk downstairs and you think, well, is it time to get to work or get a sandwich? You know, I mean,
Sandwich.
or jump on the iPad. You know, it's blurry.
Mhm.
It's a very blurry line. And I think that going into a space sort of forces you to focus on that as well. And I think that's going to be good for us.
Mhm. Agreed.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Everybody drink.
Wow, that was weird. All right. What else we got here? Yeah. Third Shift Millionaire gives us some props, how we've evolved over the last few months. Thank you very much, Third Shift Millionaire.
And Godspeed to you as well. That's very sweet. Thank you.
Flipper Joe says play video games. Yeah, well, that's possible.
In this house, are you kidding me? Xbox, PS, what?
I don't
3, 5.
I don't play those anymore, though.
No.
Really, actually, nobody does now.
Well, Ben has
Occasionally,
what's
Ben.
Ben have? That new thing that he got? Xbox Live?
Yeah, or Xbox One.
What is that? Xbox One? Well, he just got the subscription too, so.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah, we know about gaming and the trials. And
Seam Store says, I love sandwiches. Well, there's nothing wrong with sandwiches. And, you know, we could have sandwiches at the warehouse.
We could. It could be a
refrigerator at the warehouse. Important thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
Save money on going
so we can get in it if it gets hot. We'll just get in the refrigerator.
Well, I was thinking more for food and things to drink, but okay. But I mean, but one of the dangers you could fall into, and we're not going to fall into, I don't think, is that because we'll be going somewhere to work, you might think, well, I'm going to go out to eat lunch, and that gets really expensive really quickly. I mean, you go out to eat lunch, it's for 2 people, it can be $20 without, you know, any problem at all, you know, so that adds up over the course of a month. And you definitely can bring food and make something or bring something and eat it a lot cheaper.
Oh, and I just found in my storage, I just found a whole box of PS2 games, didn't I?
We did. We found, how many PS2 games are in there?
Like it's a paper ream box and it's full.
I wonder if it'll be in your really good ones.
Of course, they were my games.
She had some of the more rare PS2 games. I know you're probably thinking PS2 games are not worth much, but there are some that are kind of rare and not collectible, but people really like them. And some of them go on Amazon for $50-$60.
Well, that Fatal Frame, what did I have? Two of those. It's a Japanese.
Yeah.
Those were amazing. Those are fun games to play too.
Hank has no video games or comfortable furniture in the house. Yep. In fact, Hank has no furniture in the house. It's just work. There's no couch. There's no bed. There's no table. There's no television in Hank's house. I'm just kidding. I haven't been there. She's been there, I think. But let's see. You need a couch in the warehouse to take naps. Well, yeah, of course. I don't know where that one's from. You guys are going to lose your liquor license for sure. Well, we can't lose what we don't have. So no liquor. Let's see. I want all the PS2 games. Yep, you can have them, Joe. $30 a piece. They're all yours.
No.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Such a reseller. Take a cooler, sandwiches and chips, case of water. Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be simple. We have our lunch. We could do our lunch. We do the stuff we like to make. Yeah,
we're pretty no nonsense on that. But one of the things we're going to do, like when we hang up with you guys, when this call is over, we decided we'd spend the next snowy day listing, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that when you go into a partnership, when you try to meld businesses together, you have to make your foundation that you're adding to someone else's foundation as solid as possible. So we have to build up our stores as much as possible between now and then. So, and we've been listing a lot more. And
yeah, we've been listing some more and getting rid of some things that were here, making some decisions on some things here. Yeah, and I was just thinking about product and dust and humidity. And I don't know if anybody has any ideas on this. maybe it would be good to cover things with plastic, not like completely cover, but cover the tops of fixtures so that any dust, kind of coming down. I know you don't really want to seal them up necessarily because that can seal in moisture. And we can, maybe with the humidity thing, I still think we could put dehumidifiers near the inventory in that general area, so kind of keep the air near there dry.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I mean, we could even put cardboard, like depending upon if we're going to use the same racks or wider ones, we could probably put cardboard or something over the top.
What would that do to keep dust off, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because some of those racks have like the curtain thingies on the front. Haven't you seen those?
Yeah.
But I'm worried about those too because we run the risk of keeping moisture in there. So anything that encompasses more than 2 of the whatever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides of it, it's up against the wall, then we might be housing moisture.
Raccoon says charcoal and baking soda in a bowl. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely kind of remedies you can use to pull moisture out of the air. That's the big thing. Just keeping moisture out, keeping it dry in there is important. You mean year-round or just while constructing the space? I don't know, Hank. Maybe year-round. I don't know. Like, I don't know how dusty it's going to be in there yet. I don't think it's going to be that dusty from what we've seen. The dust and the moisture are the only things I'm worried about, which, duh. I'm not too worried about insects and things like that because we can spray for those. I mean, that's not a problem. It's a fairly sealed up building. Like, it's a concrete slab floor and cinder blocks along the walls. So I feel like, and it looks like the seals are pretty good. We could run some caulk along it, but that's not going to stop anything on the roof. So I don't know. That's really worth it. But let's see. Raccoon has charcoal and baking soda all over their warehouse. Oh, and so it stays pretty dry. One thing we're going to do is bring our little temperature gauge thing. We have one that sits here in the house, and it also tracks humidity. So the next time we're there, we're going to bring that in there and kind of see what it registers over a few hours.
We can leave it overnight.
And it's a big space. So I'm like, with 1,500 square feet open, does a dehumidifier even really do anything? I mean, that's a big space to pull, and you got to run. The power is going to be higher when you do that. You got to run it for a while. I mean, will it really even do anything? I don't know. I feel like it might not, like a home-based one. So maybe there's bigger ones you can get.
You're gonna go inspect. Hank thinks you're gonna go up on the roof and do a roof inspection.
My days of doing stuff like that are done. So I will leave that to somebody else.
We'll certainly take photos and videos pointing up at the roof if you like, Hank.
Yeah, Susan says, had a dehumidifier in my cabin office sure helps. Right, and I know they work. I just wonder if it'll work in such a big space. Will it really make any meaningful difference? When you think about the cubic feet of how much air is in that building. 1,500 square foot building with 20-foot ceilings. That's a lot of air. That's a lot of air to dehumidify, so to speak. So I don't know. The seam store. You will need a larger one for that cubic size. Oh, yeah. All right. I wonder too, though, if will it make any difference if we kind of enclose the inventory area? I thought about just excuse me. I thought about draping plastic over, not draping it over, but creating like a plastic enclosed area and then just run the dehumidifier inside that area. Keep it fairly closed off. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I have no idea. This is not my field. I don't really have a field now that I think about it, but it's like as opposed to what. But I'm just trying to think outside the box in terms of solutions. So if you guys are dehumidifying experts, we can talk. That would help plastic containment, the seam store says. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, that's basically what they do underneath a house in a crawl space. They can enclose it with plastic. They can put down, I think there's some foam barrier stuff they can use as well. Just trying to keep moisture out so it doesn't come up in your house and create mold and so on. Water's a problem, but whatever. Let's see. Lots of people know about this. How big is this place? 1,500 square feet, Susan.
The warehouse. And
the warehouse.
The ceilings are like 20-foot ceilings.
Yeah, so 1,500 feet of contiguous space. There's no break in them, and then the ceiling is, like Kaaren said, it's like about 20 feet high. So it's a big space,
Big wide open space.
It's funny. Susan says, "Oh wow, that's a big space," and Rusty Raccoon says, "It's only 1,500
It's
square
only
feet."
1,500.
Everybody's got a different opinion.
Well, Joe would say, I have one of my 20 warehouses is only 1,500 feet.
Yeah, and Sadie would say, "Your mansion's going to be bigger than that." So it's pretty funny. There are network humidity and moisture monitors that can email or text you when too much moisture is noted. Huh. That's interesting.
There's an app for that.
There's an app for that.
Hmm.
Frame up a separate room for inventory. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, we could. Like, there might be a way to do that. It would be like a big plastic tent room like they have like for contaminated people in movies, when there's an outbreak of a virus. They all go in this big plastic space, and say, "Oh, we're gonna have to kill these people because they've got a horrible disease. It's gonna kill us all." That's not always how the movie goes, but it's usually how the movie goes. Like, those people are done for. Like, oh, we'll take them in here, but there's really no hope for these people in this big plastic area. I don't know where I went with this. Whatever.
You digress.
I've watched too many movies.
You just had a Kaaren moment. You just went off on some unrelated topic, but hey, that's all right. No judgment here.
Keep the ceiling fans on. Yeah, and we were thinking about setup fans, big warehouse fans as well. Those, I know that helps. Airflow is critical, and warehouses are notorious for just the air just being stagnant. Things will grow.
I know, Hank, right? Like, huh?
All right, I've seen movies. I can't help it that you haven't seen those movies, but I've seen those movies. All right, so whatever. Let's see. There's other. Do you plan on putting one rack in the middle to pull from each side, or all on the wall only? Well, with jeans, Ninja, we have them perpendicular to the wall so that we can pull from each side. So that eliminates that going in and getting two buckets underneath one another. Like where you have like one bucket and or one bin, and then you've got to lift, or having things too deep. I hate that. Like, I used to do that. I put it against the wall, and I had to move a stack to get another. It's not efficient, guys, and they'll fall over sometimes. It's just not a great way. Like, I get 42 pair of jeans on a 36 by 18-inch shelf. The way I have it set up, I don't think you can do any more than that. I really don't. Like, I've tried it with bins and so on, and bins would eliminate any falling off, but you'd only get like 30 on there. Like, you lose like 12. Which is a big difference. It's like almost 30%. So that to me has been the best way if you can keep them stacked. Now, the downside of that is, we're going to this warehouse, maybe we do go the bin route. If we sealed them up in plastic bins, that would keep a lot of the moisture out. It wouldn't be perfect. I don't think that's going to keep all the moisture out, though. Like, those plastic bins are not airtight.
Well, and if they go into the bin with any kind of moisture, it could be exacerbated by having the lid on it. So there's that.
Right.
And I don't know if Aaron's joking or not about renting a truck trailer to expand the warehouse space. But we've used truck trailers, and they worry me a little bit more. We used I guess you're talking about like a tractor trailer. We used one of those to house haunted house equipment, and it was way too subject to the environment, and we had issues with mold and bugs and all kind of things. So
Dottie says we haven't any issues in our warehouse. We use large fans, which is definitely, I think, what we will be doing. Dehumidifying the space will be expensive. The large dehumidifiers cost $5 to $7 a day to run. Yeah, that would get expensive because you probably need more than one. Containing the inventory would be the best bet, but and then you could just use a household unit.
Yes, there's a door on the dock. Dottie asked that too as well, I think. There's a door on the dock.
We can't save these jeans. Ha ha ha. That's what I'm picturing, like a movie scene.
We can't save all the jeans.
Save the denim. Let's see. So you don't bag clothing while stored? No, we don't, Susan. It's an extra step. We don't ship them that way. We could do it, but then we'd have to put them in bins. They would not stack on a shelf.
Well, and we talked early on about, because a lot of folks will, we're very much a touch the item as little as possible mentality. But early on, you were gonna put them in like a whatever shipping envelope or whatever.
Yeah, I was
so
gonna
that
put
it
them
would
in a
just be
padded
part-
flat rate and just seal them. But
we
it's not
have
totally
we have
sealed.
enough requests for what's the measurement of the left back pocket on Sunday. I mean, like we get so many random
sometimes
questions.
you do.
And that was just enough to be like, let's just stick with this and then we'll go from there. So it's working. And it's not to say that it won't evolve. Every part of this business has evolved.
Right.
So it's not to say that, that part won't as well. But for now, we're going to stick with what we know and what's working and what we've efficiencyed down to be the most effective for us.
Absolutely. Rusted Raccoon said, what about a vacuum bag sealer? Yeah, I don't know. That would be a great way to do it, actually. And if I could figure out a bin solution that made the most sense, and maybe I will. Maybe that is the way we'll do it. I mean, I'm open to it. Like the inventory system we have, it's all flexible. Like I don't, this is a work in progress. And if we have to even change the way the inventory is numbered, or stored, fine. Because overall, it's still a win for what we're gonna have in there. I do like the bin approach and method. It's very clean. And if we vacuum sealed bags and put them in there, I guess technically if we needed a measurement or something, we could just crack it open and take the measurement and then reseal it. I mean, it would kind of suck because you're spending the cost and time to do that. But are you able to drop a storage container on the property for large hard goods, pool tables? No.
And if we ever got a pool table, it would never leave the warehouse. Are you kidding me?
I would be playing on it.
No.
That would be a mistake.
Do not send us information about pool cues, pool tables, pool anything, because it just won't leave the warehouse.
I would definitely be playing some pool. Bags of salt will absorb the moisture. Yep, absolutely, Madus.
Yeah, and Hank said the bin, like if we use buckets or bins or containers.
Oh, that's Mary that we had on the show.
Yes.
Oh, I was like, man, I've seen that name before. Hey, Mary. Mary was on. We did a show with her several months ago.
Something about books.
A book business. Mary has this huge book business. So you guys look in my. It was about selling books on Amazon. So and eBay. It was on both. So look on my video playlist. It's probably under the Connect series, and we did a show with Mary. She sells
seashells by the seashore. No. That's not what she does.
Wow. She sells a lot of books. So, and she has a great business up there. I can't remember what state you're in, Mary, but she says we now buy bulk accessories. Never mind. She doesn't sell books. She buys bulk accessories. So,
books bad. Bulk accessories good.
That's pretty funny. But I mean, it's an evolution. Always is.
Clarence Ninja wants to know, how do you mark the jeans with item number if you don't bag them? It's funny you ask. So we just have an inventory tag. We use our little, you gonna go get one?
I can get one.
We use our little Dymo printer, and it has basically the inventory title of the item is the title on eBay, and then we add a SKU and a location for the inventory number. And Vanna is going to get you one to show you on a real pair of jeans. Wow. Even.
Yes, so these are a pair of True Religions, and you can see there, that's what the tag looks like. So the 5420 is the item number, and the A213 is where it's located. Mm-hmm. And the other stuff is the actual description I put in the listing. So I just copy that straight from the spreadsheet where I entered into my inventory and paste it right in the listing, and there you go. And you set on the shelf like this.
All right, and we should note, because some people do it, just about everybody does it differently, right?
RSTLNE. Oh, I see what you did there. Go ahead.
We do not reuse the inventory number, the SKU, that 4-digit. We never reuse that, but we do reuse the inventory space. So that's why it's every item's going to have a twofold SKU number, total SKU number, if you will, because inventory number, don't repeat it, because we build redundancies into our processes on purpose.
Yeah, we will reuse space 213. Like space 213 has room for 7 pair of jeans. Mm-hmm. So when this one sells, the spreadsheet automatically creates a new space in 213 and says, hey, you've got space there now. So if you need to list something else, you've got space. Mm-hmm. And basically I just stack them right on top of each other. So the highest number 1 is on the top. And so then that way, if I list one and I put it on that stack, it's going to go right on the top. That way, I've actually covered this in a couple videos before. It's actually really simple, and it's kind of the way some of the bigger retailers somewhat use their inventory or do their inventory, very similar. Somebody said the trusty soon measurements. You know, I used to put them on the tag as well, Susan, but now I'm kind of like, I don't know that I really need to do that anymore, because I put them in the condition field on the listing. And the reason I put it in the condition field is because, like, I usually just put 3 measurements: waist, inseam, front rise. But the reason I put them there is because I can, if someone asks a question about it, one of those 3 measurements, I can look just at the listing, even on mobile, and see that very quickly and say, oh, it's that, and answer their question. So I don't have to go into the listing any further and look at the description. Just trying to save time. So I've been putting it there, and that way I can see it very quickly and answer a question. And I'm not putting it in the spreadsheet anymore. It's not really relevant to the spreadsheet. It's just, you know, I don't know. It's the same amount of typing either way, but it's one less copy and paste.
Yes, we use padded flat rate envelopes for most of the jeans that we sell. Some of them are too big, though, and we have to use poly mailer, bigger. We have and saying that, we've also added, we're not doing free shipping anymore, right? We're starting to transition.
We're starting to transition away from that.
And you're charging,
partly.
You're charging, what's your
$5.99.
Right. So we're going to charge $5.99 to offset the shipping.
Right.
And we don't really think that's going to make a big difference. And we're also going to start, because we said we would, experimenting. It doesn't really apply to jeans so much, but we're going to start experimenting with regional A and B boxes for priority mail as well. Right?
Yep. And Susan said, I thought they said not to put in condition, just the condition. Well, I would say that the measurements are the condition, because sometimes they're not the same as what you would think from the manufacturer, like they could have been hemmed. You know, the description to me is where I put anything that's unusual about them, if there is anything unusual, and usually there's not, because I don't buy too many items like that. I'm more about the efficiency and speed of it, not the, you know, getting a bunch of weird one-offs that take forever to list.
And speaking of efficiencies, Clarence Ninja wants to know, why padded flat rate instead of flat rate?
We have talked about this before, Clarence Ninja. You may not have seen any of those shows. It's really a few reasons. The padded flat rate is more expensive. Yes, I realize that. But it's also sturdier. It reacts better if the package does get wet, which they do sometimes. I think it sends a perception to the customer that you are putting a lot of care to their package with it being padded, even though I know it's jeans and what can really happen to them inside the package that couldn't happen in a non-padded, not much. But they tend to hold up better. I just think it's for all those reasons. I actually think, too, they're easier to get more in because they stretch, whereas the cardboard ones don't. Plus, the cardboard ones can give you a nasty paper cut if you're not careful. And so it's for all those reasons.
Are you even supposed to put anything other than documents?
Yes, you can. You can.
Really?
Yep, you can.
So that my myth that I've been spewing for months
now. It was a myth, and I just let you keep on talking about it.
Urban legend. Well, I do know, though, that if you have to tape a priority mail envelope all the way around on both sides, that's breaking the law.
Yeah, well, that's not breaking the law. It's
a rule. It's a rule.
It is a rule, but it's supposed to be able to close without the tape necessarily. But and I always will close, but I just don't trust their machines to sort it, and they could rip it open.
Of course, you can do it.
I am able to get a lot in there. What's your return rate with jeans? I'm kind of nervous about some because I imagine my returns will be high. You're probably, well, I don't know what high means to you. My return rate for jeans tends to be around 4%, somewhere in there. I actually get a few shoe returns too, believe it or not, which I think is kind of crazy. Maybe it's because we're such newbie shoe sellers.
We didn't for a while, and then we've gotten.
And then we did. So I think my blended rate between the two is like 4.5. But jeans tend to be a little bit over 4% for me. You know, which kind of stinks. I think like with going back to non-free shipping, going back to charging for shipping, I wonder if that will be, I wonder if that will change anything or not. I don't know. because I think people are like, oh, I paid, $20 for it. But I think they think about the shipping cost, if they have to ship it back, if they paid for it initially, maybe. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Darn rules. Agreed. Let's see. I sell men's dress clothes, so I only use boxes for presentation. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Seam store. I actually got a jacket back the other day. I got it in a padded flat rate. So it was, but it was kind of interesting that I got it back. I wondered if that was part of it. But what are you pointing your wrist for?
I'm looking at the clock.
It's time to go. I'm sorry.
I mean, he can just go on and on and on, but it's 3 o'clock. We've been on an hour. And
check out the description for a link to the video where we started this warehouse process. If you want to see more, it's right at the very beginning of the description, and of course other helpful links.
And we'll get better about, filming more in the moment. We'll try to do it live from there as well. But definitely, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. There's no telling what we're going to talk about or when on this channel. And certainly, mateys, hit the like button.
Yeah, lots more warehouse stuff to come, guys. This is going to be a journey we're going to be on for weeks and months. So glad you guys are along with us.
Where last year the word that you didn't want to hear anymore was mindset, this year it's probably going to be warehouse.
Warehouse.
As always, this is Just Ask Kaaren.
Prop sales.
Saying good sales to you.